Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Three Quarter Time podcast. This is what now? Episode 4?
Episode 4, yes.
We're really getting through them now. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We really appreciate all the support. Janus, P-Dub, how are we, lads?
Yeah, not too bad. Going well.
Going well. Just battling a few sporting team crises at the moment with the Blues, the Magic, and the Canucks. But other than that, just going great outside of sport. What about you, Cookie? How are you going?
The season is really kicking off now, I would say.
Yep.
We've got a little bit of an idea of how the team's shaping up for 2025.
Yeah.
So I think it opens it up to a little bit more discussion. Jump to some conclusions. And what do we start with? Well, last week I started with every week I'm going to do a game of that specific day that we're recording in history. And I'm going to bring up just a flashback for you because I know every footy fan loves a good flashback. I'm going to take us back to round 1, 2019, Sunday the 24th of March, which is when we're recording this. Cheeky 110 game under the dome, except the roof was open this time. The Saints jumped the Suns by a point in their round 1. The score was 13-7-85 to 13-6-84.
What year was that?
Yeah, this was in 2019.
Richo.
Anyone guess who kicked the most goals that day for any team?
I reckon Jack Loney kicked a bag that day.
Jack Loney kicked 1. That's actually a great name. But it was our man. Actually, I've seen him kick 10, I believe.
Bruce.
Josh Bruce.
Brucey.
Exactly.
Hey.
Was anyone there? No, I was with. I don't know. I don't know why I was at that game. What was that? Like a Dogs versus North game or
That
something?
was
Friday.
Bulldogs North Melbourne. It was a Good Friday game.
Yeah, one of the first
that's
Good
right.
Friday
And
games.
Josh Bruce went out and kicked 10. I thought it was going to be the most boring game of my life, but it was a great watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, let's have a little bit of history for this week. Now, we all three of us went to the Hawks Carlton Thursday night. It was an interesting game of football. And how would you describe it as a neutral?
Yes.
Well, it was very stoppage heavy. It was kind of slow. Quarters went on for about 45 minutes because it was wet. But going with you two, one's obviously Hawthorn, one's obviously Carlton. So it felt weird. I couldn't really get behind any team.
Yeah,
So-
true.
So, like, as a neutral for a watching perspective, it wasn't riveting to me.
No, that's
That's fair enough.
one of the main
It was a
highlights
bit
out of that
An interesting
game.
game.
But-
What are the main highlights
No,
out of the game?
I was going to say something, but then you
I
started talking. It's all
Oh,
good. No,
I
go.
think the Meek, personally for me, I think the Meek to Koning rock battle
That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
was so different. Yeah, exactly. It was if you love footy, it was, and especially tall blokes like us who
was a pleasure.
appreciate some ruck craft.
It was a pleasure.
It was just magical. It was just a beast versus an animal.
That's a great
watching.
description. That is a great description of that contest. I mean, decoding 40 hitouts, make 37. Like that is, it was just amazing. It was a as Cookie just said. It was a privilege as a big man to see. I'm going to use Cookie's phrase, an animal and a beast, because that's what they are. But yeah, just on the game. I mean, Hawthorn, injury dependent. Let's be real, they're top 4 bound. Big game against the Giants in Hobart this week. Back 6 looks as solid as ever since probably like 2015.
Launceston, a great man.
What did I say, Hobart?
Never playing Hobart.
My apologies.
Yeah.
My apologies to all the Tasmanians out there. I mean, Newcomb and Day are just outstanding. But, I mean, the Blues, as a Carlton supporter, we lost by 20 points at the end of the day. Kicking's still a massive problem. Intensity dropped off when the game was there to be won, if you want to be really brutal. Like, where were they in the last quarter? Can't say they ran out of legs. It's round 2. 2 goals, 8 after half time for the second week in a row. I think it was 2-7 last week. Or it might have been 2-8 as well. Or 2-7 this week. I can't remember. Ultimately, the Blues have just lost their excitement. They used to be centre clearance dominant, stoppage dominant, and occasionally would get the ball movement going, especially during that run we had in 2023. But apparently, from sources, I reckon Jordan Boyd might come into the team this week because I have a quote here from Brad Ebert. He's been fantastic, apparently. He tries to bite off a bit, which is what we need. We need brave players with the ball, which, look, to talk like a Gen Z is just straight facts. And look, big game coming up this weekend against the Dogs. And speaking of the Dogs, I didn't go to the game because I was exhausted. But you two were both there. And just before we kick things off, they were robbed. They were absolutely robbed. Robbed and goal kicking. One of the worst free kicks differentials ever. But the worst that I could find, the worst free kick differential I could find based off that game was round 6, 2013. North Melbourne played Port Adelaide at Marvel, what was then known as Etihad, for those who are youthful and don't understand the history of the game. North Melbourne had 38 free kicks to 15. A 23 free kick differential.
Jesus.
That is bizarre. Anyway, on the game at hand, throw to Cookie. Give us your thoughts. Mate, I mean, I've touched on the Dogs, but mainly from a Collingwood perspective. What were your thoughts on the Pies?
The thoughts on the Pies. That's a good one. It was interesting. They didn't really get going. Like, they converted at some points, and at other points they couldn't hit a side of a barn house if they tried. Like,
showing the Ballarat colours there.
No, it was yeah, it was interesting because I've seen Collingwood premiership year or even the year before where they just ran out the end of games so well. It didn't really feel like that. Felt like they were kind of, I don't know, hanging on. Jonas, what do you reckon?
Well, just on that, they certainly had opportunities to shut the door. But they didn't. I mean, they kicked. It was 10-10 to 10-16, and in the last quarter, like you said, they couldn't hit the broad side of a barn. So it just kept the Dogs in it. But I thought that Collingwood were far more settled throughout the game. The Dogs, they sort of had to throw the kitchen sink at them a lot. They sort of had to work a lot harder. Like Collingwood had, they were much better at just absorbing the pressure, and they looked far more comfortable with the ball, even though they couldn't convert.
That's a good call.
Yeah, but I just have a little point I want to make about that game. Obviously, the Dogs lost, but we saw the coming of a mammoth. I'm talking about Sam Darcy. He absolutely towed up Darcy Moore. Absolutely towed him up. I just have his stats here. He had 15 disposals. He had 11 contested possessions. And he kicked 4 goals too. Where Carlton tried to kick it long and hope that someone was going to mark it, the Dogs, they kicked it long, and they knew someone was going to mark it.
Yep.
They kicked it in the Sam Darcy direction, and he's got sticky mitts, doesn't he? But I liked how, given it was their celebration game, they reverted their name back to Footscray. They had a bunch of past players at the start of the game. They had a celebration. They had Tom Boyd. They had Easton Wood. They had Luke Darcy. They had Scott West. They had Tony Liberatore. And they had Bob Murphy acting as the sort of grandfather of the Footscray Footy Club. And he was reading a book. And this really got me. He spoke about Footscray being a family club, being a club that fights. How fitting in a game that celebrates Footscray's history that the Suns of Tony Liberatore, Luke Darcy, and Scott West were the ones that lifted for the Dogs
Jeez,
in the
Libba.
third quarter.
Jeez, Libba was good.
Libba had 34. He had 18 contested possessions and a goal.
Jeez, Libba was
Darcy,
good.
again, I already said his stats. And Riley West, credit to
Stumpy.
him, 10 disposals, 7 contested possessions, a goal, 2 goal assists, and 6 score involvements, I think. Yeah.
You got him going late.
It was very good to see the sons of Dogs legends continue their father's legacy.
It certainly was.
I like that, Janus. That's great. That's great work from you.
That's hard on the sleeve stuff right there.
But-
I'm ready to go out and play after that.
Yep.
Janus, I'm ready to run out
Oh,
now.
yes.
I'm ready to go. You've inspired me so much. Just on Riley West. Watch him run. His legs go so quickly because they're so small. It's so funny.
Yeah.
He's
Like
got little
me when I'm
pig
running around
trotters.
This park.
A whiz.
Yes, like the Wiz. Yes.
No, that's great. And it's maybe it's it's gonna be funny if senior Janus listens to that and thinks, "What on earth is my son didn't even play football?"
No, I played year
brutal.
5, year 6. Just ask him.
Oh, sorry.
And he will be
sorry.
listening, by the way. He will be listening.
Couple games
so-
of Marcus up at lunch doesn't count, Janus.
Yes.
1,000 likes. And Janus will don the boots next season.
Dang.
We'll get him.
I will.
All right.
We'll
Lock
get
it
him
in.
out. We'll get him out the park. Honestly, if you're a club, comment
No.
on any of these. I'll turn this into some form of content. If you're a club and you comment, Janus will play a game for your club next year.
Without
Belong,
a
hit
doubt.
me up.
And we'll be there. We'll be there in support. Maybe we'll don the sash
Yeah.
as well. We'll don the jumper as well. But who knows? Speaking of the
yes.
sash, the Bombers, they've got a defensive hole bigger than Jupiter's storm. My word, especially transition. -15 inside 50s. Contest looked all right. Contested possession and clearance was basically even, but their defensive system is just so inexperienced, and their forwards are just so inexperienced. And I mean, it's due to injury, like a lot of it. Langford and Ridley are huge outs, but the Bombers are just gonna I'm just gonna like park them and revisit them in like 8 weeks' time when they get some continuity into their game, because they have just been. I mean, they are shot. Like at the moment, they've got so many out, but they just, their list recruiters have got a lot to answer for. I mean, how much are they paying
Just
Mackay?
on that, credit to a million. What's he on a year? $1 million a year? He's like the
My
highest
girlfriend
paid
and I
player
looked
in
up the
this.
stats the day after.
Yep.
Highest paid players. I think he's like second or something.
Yeah, I know Tom Lynch is number 1 for the year.
Stupid. Yeah, Lynch is number 1.
He's on 1.5.
He's
Cheeky back end.
he's up there.
No, he is. You were saying,
Sorry,
Janus?
just before I interrupted you by accident. Obviously, the Bombers they look a bit defensively, offense. They look a bit stacked. Not stacked. Thought. Credit Zach Merritt. Jeez, he tried his guts out.
Budget
Talk
Paddy
about
Cripps.
LeBron.
He gives everything to the
Next.
Essendon Football Club. Ending up,
He does.
even when you're getting smashed.
Yeah.
And you can't really ask for more in a game. 36 touches, 4 goals, 12 contested possessions, 2 goal assists, 9 score involvements. Like, that's arguably one of the best games stats-wise I've seen in a while.
Yeah, no, he was good. Yeah, the Crows were their opponent though. Like they were blistering, phenomenal ball use, aerial dominance, goal kicking. Rankin and Rochelle, big ticks, 2 massive goals. Only concern for them is defense, because ultimately at the end of the day they have given up 100 points. I know they kicked 161. But conceding 100 is also like a work area. That's a big metric at AFL level, 100 points conceding. So
Yep.
it's probably a perfect day at the G, ending a 8-year curse or 8-year drought or whatever it was. But
That's surprising. I didn't realize it was that long.
they've only played like 8 games there.
So they haven't won a
though.
game. Yeah, true. Crazy though.
Now,
I still think interstate teams should play more of the G, but anyway.
no, they should. 100% they should. They like we're
Well,
all
the Giants have already
Victorian.
used their quota up. They used it last week.
Exactly.
And didn't Port only play one as well? Port only play one.
Yeah, like it's
Pretty sure.
ridiculous.
Could be wrong.
Like, how's it? Like, imagine you finish 4th, say, and 2 Melbourne teams finish 1st, and you lose and then win the semi at home and then go back to the G again. Like, it's not
And if
fair.
you win that,
then you get to play a third
you're
game.
back to the G
That gives
again.
you continuity,
Yeah.
admittingly. But, like the Giants, if they have to play, like, say, Collingwood in a prelim at the G again, it's going to have been, like, 26 weeks since they played at the G. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't care that they pull in bloody 2,000 fans. So do Melbourne. It's their home ground. But anyway, now...
Could be 2,000 there this week.
Yep. Speaking of emotion, getting passionate about this. Now, I know the great man in my top right at the moment that I see visually in this audio recording and visual recording, he sat through what... Anyway, I'll let him describe it. The Cats, Janus. I'll let you go. You've got a minute to just go. I'll put a
1 minute.
1 minute go. I'm starting the timer.
I'm going to be harsh and say that the first 3 quarters reeked of arrogance and complacency.
Or bang.
There was no intensity on the ball. Obviously, I get that we don't like playing at Marvel. We basically came out in the first half and said, we don't care. Credit to St Kilda, though. They wanted the ball more. They had 245 uncontested marks for the game. So we just couldn't get our hands on the ball.
Did you say 245?
It was good to see in the last quarter, though.
Yeah. 245. Is
That can't be right.
Really?
That's ridiculous.
245 to 174 uncontested marks.
Possessions or marks?
Marks.
Keep ranting. I'm fact checking.
We couldn't get our hands on the ball. Right? But it was good to see in the last quarter our young guys sort of step up. Good to see O'Sullivan get a real crack. Good to see Ted Closey actually play quite well. Kick 2 goals when Stewart
Connor
went out.
O'Sullivan, Jonas. What do you think about him?
I like him. Geelong's one of those teams we love having like a utility. We got a few players who can do it. Jack Henry can go forward. Blitzards is obviously the main one. O'Sullivan is very fit, very athletic. I mean, you saw him lift in the last quarter. He took a really good mark. He's specking on Zach Guthrie. He went forward. He had a chance to kick a goal. He just sprayed it. It was good to see them lift, but our older guys probably didn't lift around them.
So let's show some love to the Saints, by the way.
I was going to say.
Like,
Yeah, 100%.
absolutely
100%.
thumped. And then they come out. They have a good record against Geelong when no one knows why. I think it just stems back.
They're our bogey
to
team.
a heartbreak.
It's like the
But yeah, shout out to the Saints.
Yeah, in that first quarter, McRae got on top, Marshall got on top, Sinclair got on top. He kicked some really good goals. Darcy Wilson, he's a good player.
Jack Higgins is a nuisance who just kicks goals.
Jack Higgins gave O'Shea Mullen a bath.
It's 8 kicked on O'Shea in the first
then even
games.
Even Marcus Windhager, he bobbed up, kicked 2 goals. Then he kept Max Holmes to 5 touches for the first half. So, right on St Kilda, they were the better team.
O'Shea's been
Listen, he's
absolutely
copped it a
destroyed
little
these
bit,
2 weeks, Jonas.
What? I'm gonna offer some couch coaching that obviously means nothing. O'Shea Mullen works better as an out and out tagger. Put him in the
Anything
midfield, get him
else?
to sit on someone. His best games have been when he's done it against Torm Francis. Both times.
All right. Well, we'll see it,
That's
Jonas.
me.
Maybe Chris Scott is listening. Never know.
Chris, if you're listening, listen. I'm kidding. What do I?
Alrighty. Then we had the Power absolutely demolish the Tigs.
Did what Carlton should have done.
I started watching this game. I was about 5 minutes in, and then I thought, instead of watching this, I'm just going to have a nap instead. It's going to be the same regardless. That's what I did. I woke up at quarter time, and they were up by about 40 points, and I said, yep, that's why I had my nap. So what do we think about that one, boys?
Just on Richmond,
You go, Tito.
round one won't be their only upset, but this won't be their biggest loss. They're going to lose a game by like 130.
Oh, yeah.
But they could also beat someone. Like, Richmond may go on a bit of a lull for a bit, and everyone will be like, Richmond are 1-12 and their only wins against Carlton. I'm ready for it. But
I'll be doing that. Don't worry.
Yep. Viewed as the Hawks sit 12 and zip. But no, they'll beat teams in the back half of the year. Like the teams that are like 10th and 11th who have big injury lists, they'll get them. Yeah, because they're young, but they've got good players. They've got
Yeah,
they've got some.
I like it. Good call.
Speaking of young and good, now I know I predicted North to beat the Dogs last week, and I'm quoting myself here because that's how much of an arrogant knob I am. They'll cause some upsets. Whether you classify this as an upset or not, that's up to the individual. But my word, they were good. And then midfield is special. Like I pointed out last week. Got a bright future ahead.
It's scary.
It's scary good. It's powerful. The only reason they lost to the Dogs was just because they didn't know really how to win. But now, talk about beating a team that's youthful and in crisis. Cookie, what are your thoughts on Goodwin's comments? And then, Janus, I'll get you to give your opinion after Cookie.
It's pretty simple. Just can't say that. Especially to a bloke who's put the franchise on his back for the best part of 10 years. You just can't do that. Like, seriously. Especially how ravenous our media is. They chase a bone like a dog. And Goodwin has thrown a huge bone.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to see what happens, but I think Melbourne was my bolter, and I'm questioning my life decisions every week now. So look, if they can't beat it's going to be if the Suns win this week, which we'll see if they do. There are going to be serious questions asked of Melbourne, and I reckon I don't want to turn them too quickly, but they're in big trouble, especially if they're losing to the North.
Yeah. No,
you just can't say those comments.
Agree with that. Janus, what do you think?
Can't say it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, why would you? No one knew about any sort of problem. He just come out straight up and basically told the media there's something up. Like, why would you give such a vulnerable information out to the ravenous, hungry dogs that is the AFL media? Like, but purely from like a pastoral coaching point of view, isn't the coach meant to front up and protect the players?
Yeah, especially when Gawn and Goodwin have such a good relationship.
Weird in press conferences.
Yeah.
Like, as far as captain-coach relationships go, I'd have Gawn and Goodwin in the top probably 3.
Yeah,
like,
well,
you
they
just
won a
look at the way
premiership
they
together.
talk about each other. But even like in those like little docos and stuff that they talk about each other or interviews, or they're always like so supportive of each other. And even just like you hear people in the media, like I was listening to some comments on radio today, like Yes, I'm 21 and I listen to the radio. It's a foreign concept to those listening at home. But
Oh, I do as well. Don't worry.
it's
Bible
beautiful.
Monday.
Yes. Who was I listening to? I can't remember. Anyway, but they were like, Gorn and Goodwin have
Yeah.
like a glue relationship. Like it's rock solid. And apparently, according to some journos, that Gorn did not know this was coming. He did not know Goodwin was going to go with this. So it's interesting to see how that will bloody play out. But speaking of Cookie was talking about how Melbourne were his bolter. I was so confident Freo were going to pump the Swans. And geez, that's a bad loss. Lamentable, to be honest. It
was a strange kind of game.
They should have won that. They butchered that. They butchered that. I mean, Janus, was that more about Sydney or Freo that game?
Listen, like with the game, I thought it was a good boxing contest, like within the midfield. Both were going quite well, getting on top. It was sort of like a neck and neck kind of thing. Geez, apart from Tracy, Freo,
the big kahuna,
neither team really had anyone forward. There was no one forward with the ball, and it meant that because of that, in the last quarter, especially when both teams are chasing the league, chasing the win, they had to do a lot of high risk running shots at goal just to pray that it would go in. I mean, Riley Bias obviously kicked the goal.
That was a sausage.
Before that, there was a goal that was sprayed to the right from the exact same position.
Yeah.
So
just on,
it was one of those really weird games where no one could score.
Just on the coaches, Tim, you were talking about coaches' connections with their players. The vision of Dean Cox after the game. I don't know if you've seen it in the rooms. The Sydney, that's such good footage. The Sydney guys just it's just when I saw that, I was like, gee, that's good.
It's passion.
Like he was rinsed after they narrowly lost to the Hawks. He's versus the Hawks and the Lions, the two premiership favourites right now, and he narrowly beats Freo, and like just the joy on his players and his face it was great to see.
It was.
Shout out Dean Cox. It was great.
And all the viewers watching and listening. Do you think that performance shows where Chad Warner's head is at?
That's a great question.
More to the point, could I just say, who's more likely to leave at the moment, Harley Reid or Chad Warner? Because from what I can see, it's Harley Reid. It looks so much more likely in my eyes.
See, I'd say Warner. Purely because,
why?
West Coast are going to pay him a lot. Both of them. Like, if you're Harley Reid, Chad Warner's coming to play with you. Why would you leave that?
Good point.
But if you're like
Chad Warner, what if Harley Reid pisses off?
Then you stay in Sydney.
Almost like who blinks first.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
To be honest, if I was Warner's management, and to be honest, this conversation is probably going on. If I was Warner's management, I would be doing a lot of talking with Reid's management. He might even be managed by the same bloke. But who knows? I've no idea who their managers are. But I'd be doing a lot of work because imagine them as a 1-2 punch next year.
Oh, nightmare.
Warner and Reid. Like, there's just one word there.
That is deadly.
Explosion.
That is deadly, yeah.
Explosive. Like, you got two guys that can burst out of center and kick it from 65 in the middle of winter. Yeah, but just like, wow. Be a great vision of Dean Cox, just back on that. Like, some people think he's too emotional, but, I mean, as long as he's consistent.
It is an emotional game.
It is. As long as he's consistent. And, like, speaking of consistent, We were just talking about him, but Harley Reid in the media again. I gave him a little clip last week. I'm not going to add to that. I don't need to say any more on him. He's going to cop it. Not that he listens to this podcast, but I do feel sorry for him. I do feel sorry for him a little bit. The bloke
Hey,
is
Harley,
like
if you're watching.
the bloke is literally like. Has there been
19.
a more criticised person in the last 10 years? Like,
I was listening to the radio on this earlier, and they were talking about Judd, and they were like, "Was this like Judd?" And everyone's like, "Judd, it wasn't like this because social media wasn't a thing. Because he's
Yeah.
getting everything. It's usually I feel like if you're a big name in WA, it's WA coming after you. Now it's all of Australia coming after him. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't have a phone if I was him. I'd literally just chuck it in the bin. Like, but I'll be honest, I didn't watch the
It
game.
could be, though.
I didn't watch the game. I was busy. What were your thoughts, Janus, on the just quickly? What was your thoughts on the Brisbane West Coast game?
Credit to West Coast for coming out of the blocks firing. They looked really good. Scored efficiently. They forced Brisbane to make a lot of mistakes, fumbles. They weren't clean, which is usually they're a very clean team with Neil and Ashcroft and players like that. So they weren't clean, and they took away Brisbane's possession game and just basically chaos ball worked. Tyrell Dewar kicked 2 goals in the first in the first quarter. They were up by 5 goals at quarter time. Like, just didn't give them time to get the footy. But with a young team, humid conditions, ultimately cramping became a factor. Their ruck, what's his name, Archer Reid.
Yep.
Well, Bailey Williams got subbed off with cramp. Archer Reid had to do a lot of the work. Then he got cramped. And then they had to throw Ruben Ginbey in the ruck. So it was a bit sort of haphazard, but they didn't keel over and die, which I think McQualter will be happy with.
No, they should definitely take a lot out of that game. A couple of things for me. Tim Kelly was so much better than the week prior. Ryan
Great
Marrick
call.
playing defence worked a lot. I'm pretty sure he started as a forward last year, no?
Yeah, he did.
He was recruited as a forward.
Yeah,
He was really good. That was
He's
the best
a
game
good
I've seen
player.
a lot of Eagles play.
Mm.
Like Tom Cole played
Brady
well.
Hoff
Elijah
was
Hewitt
very good
played
in
well.
defence as well.
They had
Hewitt,
life.
really good.
Harry Edwards.
Yeah,
They definitely had something.
life. That's a great call, Tim.
That's
Good
good.
call.
And
Because,
it was
I
a
mean,
gabber as well. It's not-
watching
and
them-
it was the flag unfurling. Like, it's a big occasion, and they came to the party.
it's exactly the
That's the Eagles.
same. 2018, Richmond unfurled the flag, the drought-breaking flag, and Carlton kicked the first 5 goals. And then we
They
went
win?
on to lose by like 4 goals.
Oh, okay.
Literally the same game.
Yeah, right.
Just that Carlton team was a lot worse. Oh, actually, it's a big call. That is a big call. But obviously Harley Reid, he was talking to the fans. Is one way to put it. He was seen on one of the 37 cameras giving the bird to a patron or patrons. I don't know if that's a plural. Cookie, I believe we've all got some famous
off.
crowd interactions with a bit of vitriol involved. Cookie, I'll get you to kick things
Yes.
off. You're a different couple of states away from Queensland.
Yes, I'm going back to the man who doesn't sleep at the moment, Kane Corns.
The business.
His 11th game of football,
Yes.
round 9, 2002. The bird to Brodie Holland, who was a Pies player, in their 5-point win at Football Park. Now, and as the siren went, he just goes bang, bang, just gives him the old 1-2. And when I say 1-2, I mean the bird. And then Later, he received numerous death threats from Collingwood fans. Police had to keep an eye on the bloke for the next couple of months. And the Magpies famously had the last laugh that year, defeating the Power in the qualifying final later that year. So that's why you shouldn't lick the bird. What about you, Janus? What do you got for us?
I have one that's not as vitriolic towards a player, more so a player standing up for himself after a really bad loss. I'm talking about Matthew Richardson. 2004, Richmond travelled to Subiaco Oval to play the West Coast Eagles. Richmond got thumped, and throughout the whole game, Richo reported that he was getting a bit of stick from someone in the crowd, and he could hear it. And at the end of the game, he walked with your team down the race, and he saw this gentleman still giving it to him after Richmond had just been absolutely pantsed. And he was saying things about his fitness, saying he wasn't fit enough, saying he was fat. But the guy saying it probably wasn't the fittest bloke on the park. As Richo says, he was wearing a West Coast Eagles jumper that didn't go down past his belly. And basically, to defend himself, he popped up one of the birds and he kissed it.
Bang.
Bang.
Richo. Gotta love Richo. Such a...
Yeah, he's a funny bloke.
He makes footy good.
Character.
Richo makes footy good. The day Richo's not involved in footy, it will be a very sad day because he is very, very good at his job. And he's just a good man to have around.
A bit of a Twitter feud, actually. Kane Corns was having a dig at Tim Torreno on the weekend.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Oh, yeah.
Having like 4 touches at halftime, and Richo's like, "Man, not everyone plays a good game. Relax." You know what? Fair enough. That's more to your point.
Yeah, Richo's very
Like,
wholesome.
He's just one of those blokes. Yeah, exactly.
We talk about like the 2017 grand final. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
to see him just like fighting tears
Tearing
on the
out.
boundary, but eventually just pouring out. I mean, he cops a lot of stick, like, grow up, Richo, you sook. But I mean, in the words of Bruce, that's what it's like. That's what it's like barracking for a footy team that you love, that you care for, that you work for. It's what it means. And I mean, I don't know what my behaviour will be like the day comes that Carlton eventually break the drought. I don't know if I'll be 22 or if I'll be 62 or if I'll be 85 or 106. I don't know. But I can imagine it'd be very similar to Richo, just proud. But I'm going back to South Australia for my bit of vitriol. I think it was last year or the year prior. I can't remember off the top of my head. Matt Crouch got investigated by police for assaulting a member of the crowd by taking a Port fan's hat off as he was walking back down the race.
Yes.
And an honourable... The one I was going to go with, and I thought this was amazing, last year when Rochelle said on radio, Port fans don't have any teeth. And then when he kicked the goal from the boundary, it was a nice sausage, by the way, and he runs literally a metre away from the fence and just points his finger at the teeth. That was great. I absolutely love that. Yeah, he squibbed it a couple of times during the game, but it was great. It was awesome. Yeah. I'll tell you what else is great.
We love it.
I'll tell you what else is great. There's been some big the Socceroos. They thumped Indonesia 5-1. And Jacko Irvine kicking 2 goals at the Sydney Football Stadium. That's what we love. I'm not a massive soccer or football. I'm not a big football fan or soccer fan. But I get around the Socceroos.
For the snacks.
Oh, it's just good to see. And I believe, Janus,
we love it.
You got a bit of news from across the pond. Well, not across the ditch, across the pond.
Across the pond.
Across a couple of oceans.
The Thames.
Across the Thames, yes.
So England had their first game under Thomas Tuchel. They played against Albania. They beat them 2-0. And it's a nice story. They had
Big
two
tush.
new call up. They had Miles Lewis Skelly to come on, score his first goal of the game, and the first goal of the Thomas Tuchel era. So that's a good story. Well
Where's
done
Tush from,
to
Jonas?
he's German. There was a bit of
Yeah, Tuchel.
we shall say speculation about whether he will sing the national anthem. He did not
Ooh. Did he
because
sing
he's
it?
German. No, he's German. Why would he sing the English national anthem?
Yeah, fair.
Why would
Fair
they
enough.
hire a German bloke?
That would be
Surely a
like
bloke
me
in
singing
England
the
could coach.
USSR national anthem.
Bang. Now, Cookie, you've been following this really
That's
closely.
phenomenal.
You've been following this closer than
Yes,
probably all of us.
I did watch majority of this game, and I tell you what, talk about a physical game. My word, you should have seen the energy in Wollongong at the start of this game. Illawarra versus Melbourne, Game 5. Sheesh. Talk about an atmosphere. It was on early. Melbourne started hot, scored the first like 10 or something, and then Illawarra just came just crashing the door down. Yeah, so many for every quarter. It felt like the teams finishing the bonus.
Yep.
It's one of those weird games. Well, not weird. You always find in these Game 7, Game 5 scenarios, it just comes down to big players. Just felt like Melbourne only had Delhi and Chris Golding, the two experienced heads. Like they just tried. Ultimately, basketball's a team game, and the Illawarra were just a better team. So hats off to them. One of the weirdest moments you would see post game. This is interesting. They vote for the finals MVP on a game by game basis instead of just deciding at the end of the series. So they actually gave Delhi the finals MVP, which was very interesting because he didn't win the series. And he, after the game, he gave it to Will Hickey, who was the star for the Illawarra Hawks.
Yeah,
He thoroughly deserved it. He was a freak watching that game. He got that many rebounds. Like I think he had like 7 offensive boards or something stupid.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So he was running like a man possessed, and he deserved it.
Cool.
It was phenomenal. So that's the basketball for us. But hats off to Delhi. He doesn't care. Like
he would.
He's just there for just good vibes. Like he would care, but he ultimately he doesn't want the finals MVP on a losing side. It means nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out Delhi. Now we have got the segment of the week where we bring up our unsung heroes. The week gone of football. I reckon in the future we should do all sport.
Yep.
To expand it a bit, but
maybe that's
we're
a
gonna stick to
summer.
footy this
It's a summer
round.
project when this footy season's over.
Definitely, because there's a lot going on out there. Now, Jane, I just want to kick it off to you. Who is your unsung hero this week?
I've got a few here, but one that's sticking out to me is someone that both of you know that I quite like the look of. I'm talking
Hey.
about Cam McKenzie from Hawthorn.
Ooh. Fair enough.
He didn't pick a Geelong player this
he had
week.
19 disposals. No. He had 19 disposals. He had 84% efficiency. He had 2 score involvements. He looks like a clone of Sam Mitchell. And I thought when Carlton was sort of getting on top a little bit in that second quarter, Hawthorn somewhat dragged off a bit. He always looks like one that lifts. He always looks like one that has a crack, gets his head over the ball, good contest work. So, yep, McKenzie for me.
Like a Jonas. I don't give him enough credit, that bloke. Even though I'm a Hawthorn fan, he's still underrated in my... Like, I underrate him personally.
Yeah.
I still do.
It takes a Geelong
Maybe I just
fan
expect so
to
much.
tell Liam or tell Cookie how good he is.
I expect... I
Isn't
don't know
that
what I
mental?
expect. He needs to get a better left foot. That's the one thing I want him to get. But other than that, I agree. He's much more mature than he used to be. What about you, J-Dub?
I don't know who to pick. There's one who was good the whole game.
And Mackenzie?
And there's one who was clutch late. My unsung hero. I'll go with the first guy. Marcus Windhager.
Well, I like it.
Janus was talking about him
Good
before.
call.
25 touches, 5 tackles, 10 contested possessions, 2 goals, 1, whilst tagging. Tagging Max Holmes, and you go and have 25 and 2 goals. If that's not the definition of playing your role and succeeding, I don't know what is. But Marcus was he was very, very good on Saturday night. And Cookie,
I was listening just on Windhager. I was listening to the radio earlier. I think someone was talking. So they were talking about Ugal Hagen. They were talking about how unprofessional. Let's just say he's being unprofessional at the moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I think Windhager was. I think Matthew Lloyd coached him as a kid. Pretty sure.
He would have been at Haley.
Someone like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Lloyd coached him as a kid, and I think he hurt himself when he was in like year 11 or something. And apparently Lloyd said like the professionalism which he handled himself after that injury was like he played 100 AFL games. Like he was so professional about it.
Wow.
So there you go. A little bit of Marcus Windhager. Shout out him. More performances like that would definitely
very
be
good as a
recognised.
junior, apparently
Yeah.
through connections that I have that I
Yeah.
may or may not be related to. Apparently he was a very good footballer growing up in the Bayside area. So yeah, I reckon if it was Lloydie, it would have been Haileybury. But anyway, I've interrupted. I've stolen your thunder, Cookie. Who's your unsung hero for the week?
No, that's fine. I got a bloke who sometimes just got to shout out a moment, and he took this moment so well. We mentioned him earlier, Riley Bice. I mean, he had 14 touches. The bloke just, if you watch that game, no one could kick a goal for like a 10-minute patch. It was like a deadlock almost.
Yep.
And then he just steps up and just drills his first goal in AFL, his second game ever. Just drills one from about 40 on an angle, and he had some very important touches as well. He looked composed. He could be a good player for the Swans, mature age recruit.
Yeah, he looked good.
So shout out Bicey. Yep.
Good call.
Parker's old number as well.
Yes.
26.
My honourable mention was side bottom, but he only really played well in the last quarter.
I don't mind it.
But I've gone with
Doesn't die
Windhager.
the old steel.
What do we say?
you.
Master of the dink kick. His ability just to one up in the air is unbelievable. But this is
He'll
hands
destroy teams,
down.
His dink.
Pardon?
His dink will just rip fans' hair. Like if your team's playing against Collingwood, he just dinks on you. You just hate the game.
Tell me about it. I'm a Carlton supporter.
Anyway,
The votes this week is tough. This is the hardest one we've had to pick. So we've got moment, role player, and role player, to be honest. It's tough.
I think.
I don't think Bice should go first. I think Bice should be at the bottom.
I think because Windhager, he tagged and got 25 and 2 goals. He both nullified and contributed.
Yeah.
So
That's
he
a good
would
call.
probably be 3 for me. Annoyingly.
Let's go Windhager, Mackenzie, Bice.
Like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Just purely because Bice was a moment rather than a sustained performance, whereas Mackenzie.
Yep.
So
Not
how
to
do you
take away Bice's moment?
No,
of course.
100% no. But how do you spell his name?
Bice or Windhager?
Bice.
That's a great.
Bice.
What's his first name?
Riley.
Like Riley Bice.
Werribee, I think.
Yeah, but he's
So-
got a phenomenal mo.
Leading the unsung hero. I have the I'm just filling in this little table I have on a Word document as we speak. In first place, we currently have equal on 3 votes. Marcus Windhager, Jared Witz, and Sam Wicks. They are leading our unsung heroes. So one of them needs to have another good performance.
Beautiful.
I'd say out of all of those to have a repeatable performance, I'd say Windhager is the most likely to. But Mackenzie, Darcy Cameron, Shannon Neal, they're definitely capable of climbing the ranks.
They're definitely capable.
Definitely some good players in there, that's for sure.
Yes. Now we haven't got much time left. Janus, your bold call for round 3.
Okay. My bold call is the Melbourne Gold Coast game. Melbourne, we're pretty disappointing against North Melbourne. Now there's a bit of media scrutiny, a big cloud that's hanging over them. Can they respond to a Gold Coast that need to back another away win to be taken seriously?
Yeah.
Quickly, over or under 20,000 at the game.
Over.
Going
I
under.
reckon there'll be a grand total of 10,007.
When and where is the game?
120 on a Saturday.
There'll be more than 10.
Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday.
Heaps will go then. Heaps will go.
Yeah, well, what are you saying?
Over 20. It'll be like
All right.
37,000.
That's huge.
Ooh, interesting. All right.
That's the biggest
Might be
Melbourne crowd
cool.
ever.
Yes, Cookie, your big call.
Now, I believe, look, North had a great win. Their synthetic home of football, Marvel Stadium.
That's
Can they back it
phenomenal.
up?
That's beautiful.
A hostile environment in Adelaide
Oh, yeah.
where they're going to be coming. Now, they don't necessarily have to win. If they can't be beaten comfortably, they got to. These are Adelaide, you can beat them. They're not unbeatable at the moment. Maybe they are. They haven't trailed all year. If they can start quickly, they could definitely cause an upset. So my big call's on North. So just not. They're paying $6 at the moment. Like that's high for a team that just won by 10 goals. No one believes you can do it. Now do it.
So your bold call is North. Your bold call is North will beat Adelaide.
Yep.
Bang! We love that.
That's my.
Yeah, Dinkum.
What about you, T-Dub?
Chairs will be thrown on the field on Friday night at Marvel. When
Here we go.
the bottom of the barrel falls out for the Blues.
Chairs or scarves or both?
I've got a feeling this could be bad. This could be ugly. Both teams have used a lot of, however, both teams have used a lot of petrol tickets in the last 2 weeks. In the last week, especially the Dogs. So I'm hoping that means they'll play poorly. But I just think everyone will expect Carlton to win. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic and negative, but
I kind of see it.
I reckon this could be
they
like
got Collingwood the following week.
This is a mini final for the Blues. If they drop this, they're just. I know Brisbane. Everyone's like, "Oh, Brisbane were 0-3 last year." What Brisbane's year was an anomaly. That was a fluke. But it wouldn't shock me if Carlton kicked like 6 goals, 14 or something. That wouldn't surprise me. Under the roof at Marvel. But
Interesting. All right. Well, so your big call is
Blues have a mare.
The roof comes crashing down.
Yep. Carlton have a mare, and Carlton are not under the most pressure now. I'd say probably Fremantle are or Melbourne. I reckon we will be under the most pressure next week. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, thank you all so very much for tuning in. Whether it be through the airwaves or through the fibers of the internet, we appreciate your company. At the end of the day, we're just 3 guys that love footy but love sport in general, and we love, it's our passion To those who watch us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, we thoroughly appreciate it. To those who really contribute and listen to us on Spotify or watch the full podcast on YouTube, we really do appreciate it. You guys make us grow and make us continue to, I guess, be a voice, be another group of Gen Zs giving their opinions out in the world. But yeah, just sincerely, thank you very much, and hope your team wins. And from the 3/4 time production team, thank you so very much for listening. And yes, thank you very much.
Have a big final quarter.
Thanks, everyone.